David, I talked to you earlier as we got ready to start our event this evening about a couple of things that we might want to talk about, but we have moved on the clock to the time. We may just go ahead and move up that discussion of the Tennessee Constitution. And I want to ask A.J. Starling, who is with the Tennessee Afl-Cio Labor Council. Come on up here, A.J., take a seat. A.J., from the Tennessee Workers Alliance, a 501c4 entity, a nonprofit issue-oriented entity, will be speaking against the question 1. We did invite the lead organization promoting that amendment. That's the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They declined very politely, but they declined. So, A.J., you're going to have some time here, and it looks like on the original schedule you would be good for about 10 minutes, but you told me earlier you won't need 10 minutes. So go ahead. Seth, start his time for 10 minutes, and if he doesn't take that much time, hey, we'll contract the schedule a bit. So, A.J. Starling.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the Standard for inviting me here and allowing us to have an opportunity to talk about Amendment Number 1. As most of you know, Amendment Number 1 will be on the ballot for the November 8th election. Now, you know, I always say election starts on the early vote, so it starts the 19th, I believe, early voting. But I just want to say that Tennessee has been a right-to-work state since 1947. There has never been any attempt by no one, organized labor or anybody else, to repeal that statute. The Tennessee legislature, in its wisdom, has decided to enshrine the right-to-work legislation into the Constitution. We are opposed to that for a lot of reasons. One being, why mess with the Constitution? The Constitution is a sacred document. I think most people here in this room and the state of Tennessee believe that our Constitution is a good Constitution. And right to work is a misnomer. You already have the right to work by federal legislation. Regardless of what happens to this constitutional amendment, the right to work will always be in place. You have the right to hold a job and to work. We seem to think that it is an attack on working men and women in the state of Tennessee, for those who go to work every single day, and decide that if they want to join a union. You can not join a union, or you can join a union. But guess what? If you don't join and there's an organized plant, the union has to represent you anyway. So we are opposed to this for a lot of other reasons. The state of Tennessee, if you look at Tennessee compared to right-to-work states, we are below the average wage. Our wage is different. Our education is different. So it is not something that the union is saying that we want to do away with this because we can get an upper hand. That is not the case at all. And even if this is defeated, guess what? Tennessee is still a right-to-work state. So our big thing here is we don't want it to be in the Constitution, because guess what? If some future legislation, the legislators decide, well, you know, let's take this out, it takes a lot of effort to do that. So that would be my opening statement, and from that.
Okay. Okay, I was muted. Okay, let me ask you this, A.J. The proponents of question 1 that would put the right-to-work amendment in the Constitution say it would make Tennessee more attractive to prospective employers, to major industries. And we're still having some audio problems here. How's that? Are we back? You got it? Okay. So what do you say to those people?
Well, listen, I think right now, when the state of Tennessee, and I'm no expert on this because I'm not in economic and community development, when they recruit companies, That is one selling point. Guess what? You don't have a whole lot of unions. You don't have a whole lot of organized efforts in the state of Tennessee. Well, you know, they're going to still sell that, regardless of what happens to this piece of legislation. If it fails in November, on November the 8th, if right to work amendment number 1 fails, it's still a right to work state. We're pushing it not to mess with the Constitution. Our Constitution is a good Constitution. It has got some cleanup language that needs to be taken care of. I think that's going to be taken care of, and there's other 3 amendments that's on the ballot. But to enshrine something that politicians may want to use as a wedge is something that we don't need to be messing with. Now, who's in charge today could not be in charge 10 years from now. So guess what? 10 years from now, somebody else will say, well, you put this in the Constitution, let's put what we think ought to be in the Constitution. So when you start doing that volleyball game, it's somewhere along the line some people can get hurt, and we don't want to see that happen.
Yes, Mr. Starling, the question that I have has to do with the fact that the Tennessee Chamber wrote a guest opinion column for the Tennessean a few months ago where they presented their position, essentially stating that the right to work law is a bedrock of Tennessee's workplace freedoms and has been key to good paying, high quality jobs across our state and should be enshrined because it makes economic sense. What do you say to that when you hear that particular argument?
Well, I would disagree, respectfully disagree, that I don't think the people in Tennessee are getting paid enough wages. I mean, we don't have a minimum wage. We follow the federal rate, $7.25 an hour. Why hadn't the legislature or why hadn't the chamber pushed for increases in the minimum wages? When you look at a union job and then you look at a non-union job, it is a big difference, not only in wages, but in benefits and working conditions. So we want to see Tennessee prosper. It is not the efforts of organized labor to keep businesses from coming here, not at all. We want to see that prosper, but we also want to see working men and women have a fair share. That's what we look for.
Great.
AJ, we've got a couple of minutes left in this segment. While we have you here and you represent labor in Tennessee, let me ask you this question. That federal minimum wage is just about irrelevant because nobody's working for federal minimum wage. I think people have forgotten about that, even if they know what that number is. The issue that employers are having is talent recruitment, getting the skills they need, the work ethic they need, employees who can pass the drug test. How is Tennessee doing? We've got the big Ford Blue Oval plant coming to West Tennessee. That's going to be almost a city unto itself with the number of employees they'll need. So how are you doing on the labor side in making sure there's an adequate supply of qualified labor?
And what we're doing, Mr. Zachman, is we're training individuals today, even today. We're starting with the building and construction industry and training young men and women to have a lifelong skill in construction industry, whether that's plumbing, pipe fitting, electrical. Well, you constantly have a job. You won't have to go to a factory. You'll have a skill that you can take from McMinnville to Davidson County to Manchester, wherever it may be. And that's what the union is doing. We're trying to build careers along with that as well.
Okay. And David, do you have another question for Mr. Starling?
Sure, Mr. Starling. I think one of the things that the proponents of Amendment 1 have talked about is the issue of whether or not states that don't have right-to-work laws have better salaries than those who don't. They say that they don't, but what is your own experience in terms of comparing states like Tennessee to those who may not have a right-to-work statute, such as up north?
Well, we've looked at data that we have and compared to other states, northern states that have a closed shop state, and they seem to fare better in the wages than we do. Tennessee is unique because I think that the folks in Tennessee, we Tennesseans, and I'm a lifelong Tennessean, I think we have better working people. I think our ethics is good. We don't have a problem there. I think sometimes getting the right people, the economy, because of COVID and other things, have caused a shortage in workers, and also caused people to say, you know what, we're making a lot less than we should be making. And so that is a combination of things.
Okay, one last question real quickly. I think the Afl-Cio in Tennessee has an apprenticeship program.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Give us a 30-second description. How can a young person or even somebody mid-career who wants a new career get into that program?
Well, we have apprenticeship programs in all our crafts. That is one red box that we really love to talk about. If a person that you know of anybody, a lady, men, women, even if you're up in age a little bit, that want to change careers and learn a skill, the Tennessee Afl-Cio has plenty of apprenticeship programs, and it ranges, and the pay is excellent. The working conditions are great, and we're just super proud of that.
Okay. Thank you so much, A.J. Starling, Secretary-Treasurer of the Tennessee Afl-Cio Labor Council.
Thank you. And I just want to say one little thing. Voting is important, and I think that the people in Tennessee, we're behind in voting. I encourage everybody in this room and the people that are listening and watching, get out and vote. It's important. It's very, very important that we exercise our right as citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Starling. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get our candidates for the next item, and that's the Tennessee House of Representatives, 43rd District. That will be Paul Cheryl and Cheryl Usselton, okay? Sort of a palindrome there. Paul Cheryl, Cheryl Usselton, okay. I just now noticed that, David. Come on up. And now, I am aware that we have this ringing sound. That's because of the acoustic feedback in here that we're trying to find the sweet spot on the controls so that you can hear and yet minimize that feedback. That's proven physically very difficult. I'm still waiting for that good physicist to come up here and help us with that problem. So, good to have you all. Cheryl Usselton, the Democratic nominee and challenger. Paul Cheryl, the Republican nominee and incumbent. And before we went on the air, we had a drawing for speaking order. And Ms. Usselton, you go first. Mr. Cheryl will go second. Okay. And we will have a question for you. David, you've got those questions. Okay. But now first, before we do the question, we have an opening statement, and my schedule shows you've got 3 minutes. Seth, if you'll set up Ms. Usselton for 3 minutes on opening statement. So whenever you got the green light, it's yours. All right.
Oh, hello, my name is Cheryl, and I am your Democratic candidate for Tennessee representative of 43rd District. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to the Southern Standard for inviting me to this forum, and plus doing the Facebook Live.
Okay. Ms. Usselton, again, I do apologize. Pull that microphone up closer to you, and Mr. Cheryl, you'll need to do the same. Got up close to that microphone. Okay, I'm sorry.
And BLT for taping this for the people who's not able to be here tonight. And also I'd like to thank Mr. Plazas for coming to our town and hosting this forum. As I said, my name is Cheryl Womack Usselton. I was born and raised here in Morton County. My parents are the late Herbert Womack and Johnnie Mae Jones. But I was raised by my grandparents, Brackett and Chloe Jones. I'm married to David Usselton. Together we have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. I have a son that passed away in 2002 at the age of 17 from a shotgun wound. Another thing about me is I'm proud of being a born-again child of God and of the Most High God. And I would like to say that I'm a Christian, but I was always taught that a Christian means to be Christ-like, and I fall short of that every day. I come from a hard-working nursery and farming family. We learned to work at a very young age. We grew everything from sugar cane, tobacco, and fruit trees, along with the food we ate. When I was old enough, I went to work at Warren County Nursery, where I worked there for over 21 years. From there, I went to work at a molding plant where I worked for 15 years. And while working there, I went back to school in Cookville at MedVance and took a course in medical office administration. Upon getting my diploma, I got a job working for Ascension St. Thomas Heart. I worked there for over 13 years, and then where I retired from. I recently became a member of the Marson Ruritan and can't wait to get involved with more of that. Just part of my platform, I'm going to be concentrating on our teachers and keeping our schools as public schools. I want to work with the poor and elderly and take their voice to Nashville to see if we can't help them better with insurance, more affordable housing. And I'd like to be able to help our homeless and our veterans, work with them a little more. And health insurance. There is federal money out there for that would help over 300,000 Tennesseans with insurance, but Governor Lee is sitting on that money. And I don't see any reason why we should be charging our homeless as a felony. More than one way to work with that. And I want to work with the leaders of both counties to see what we can get done to make our counties better, to make a better Tennessee. We have to work together to make this happen. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Are we going to, Seth, let's go ahead and do the opening statement for Representative Cheryl, if you would. So go ahead and set him up with 3 minutes, if you would, and then we'll come back and we'll do the questions, okay?
Okay.
All right, Representative Cheryl.
Can you hear me okay?
There is a problem, and I've been trying to track it down. I can't see it in the controls over here, so we're going to have to do, okay, I think we have an open microphone. Okay, move over to let's share the microphone. Okay.
I think it's got.
These are brand new microphone cables right out of the package from the factory, and I think we got a bad one.
Do we have to turn that on or anything?
No, just grab that microphone, get close to it. Okay.
Testing.
Okay, you got it.
1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bill and Mr. David, for the opportunity to be here this evening to do this. And also, good evening to everyone. And we do want to thank all for the ones that is sponsoring this for us tonight, the citizens of the 43rd District. It's out there listening by radio or watching on TV or social media. We do want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to be here tonight. I am State Representative Paul Cheryl, who represents the 43rd District, which is now all of Warren and all of White County due to the redistricting. I want to say thank you to all the good people of the 43rd District who have voted for me. They prayed for me. They helped me, and I just want to thank you very much for all what you've done for me. I want to thank my wife, Miranda, who has helped me and does help my constituents as they call her home or with their needs or issues. But above all, I just want to praise and thank God who has made this happen in my life. Also, I want to say a very much thank you to Warren County. Warren County was real good to me August the 4th, and some of White County. Warren County was really good to me, and I appreciate all you've done for me to helping me to win the August 4th election. I can't say enough to say thank you to Warren County. As your state representative, the Republican House Caucus elected me to serve as a majority floor leader for the last 4 years. The floor leader has a responsibility to make sure that all Republican representatives are prepared to present their bills on the House floor, as well as other duties that are necessary. We are blessed very much to live in the great state of Tennessee. Our economics in Tennessee is really good. Our unemployment rate is at 3.4 as of August of 2022. Back in May, it was 3.3. Warren County and White County are two good counties to live in, to work in, to raise your children in, or to retire in, or whatever you may be doing. I just want to let just a few of you know that I go to Nashville and I try to represent you as people with your concerns and issues. Your office that I am allowed to sit in hopefully works for you, the taxpayer. I work to protect our rights to bear arms. As long as you're legally and lawfully allowed, I am a member of the NRA and the Tennessee Firearms Association. I am the only candidate endorsed by the NRA. I understand belief that life starts at conception. Marriage, as you know or understand by the Bible, marriage is between a man and a woman, according to the Bible. And I just want to try my best to support our children, our teachers, and education staff, administrators, each and every one that has a part in our education. We try our best to support these people. And also we try to support our farmers and our nursery businessmen as they provide our food and resources, and support our veterans and our military personnel. Our law enforcement, we appreciate them. We try to support them in an emergency personnel as they serve and protect us. We appreciate each and every one of them.
Okay, thank you very much. And here again, we're dealing with that feedback problem. Okay, David, are you ready with the question? This first question, it'll be the same question for both candidates. It's kind of long and involved, so I'm going to ask you to listen very carefully so we don't have to repeat it, okay? We're going to go back to Ms. Usselton. We're going to start with her. So, David, whenever you're ready, you pose the question. Okay, we'll one of these days, that physicist will show up. Okay.
Perfect, Bill. Thank you. And thank you to the Standard for providing the questions for tonight. I'm pleased to read them. So this first one is: in the wake of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision this summer overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade decision protecting a woman's right to choose, many states were swift to ban abortion in varying circumstances. Often the ban came through so-called automatic trigger laws that the state legislatures adopted in anticipation of the High Court's reversal this year. Tennessee's law is considered one of the more extreme, making abortion a felony in all cases without exception. The statute provides, however, that the physician performing the procedure may defend himself or herself in criminal court by proving the action was necessary to save the life of the pregnant woman. The medical community has pushed back against the law, which doctors say forces them into an extremely difficult position, choosing between appropriate medical care and avoiding criminal prosecution. What is your position on Tennessee's abortion ban as it now exists, and would you support any changes? That question again is: what is your position on the current Tennessee abortion law, and would you support any changes?
Okay, you'll have 2 minutes.
Okay, I most definitely would support changes, because to me, I'm pro-choice, and that doesn't mean pro-abortion. I don't believe in abortion. I've never had one, never wanted one. But I don't believe that our government needs to be in our business, telling us what we can and cannot do with our own body. He doesn't need to be in the doctor's office with us. He doesn't need to be present. And like I said, I had 2 miscarriages before I had a live birth. If this had been now, I would probably be in jail because of the trigger laws that we have. They'll be investigated, and so would the doctor. We'd either be fined or in jail. So I do support pro-choice, but I don't support pro-abortion. I just believe that we all have a right to choose.
Thank you very much. Representative Cheryl, the question again is, what is your position on Tennessee's abortion ban as it now exists, and would you support any changes?
Let me borrow her map.
Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's just go back to what the Bible says at first. Life starts at conception. I know that some people don't believe that. My person that run against me back in August, he believed that life started at the heartbeat. Life starts at conception. It's common sense. That's where it starts at. Now, is abortion good or bad? Abortion is bad because that abortion kills a baby that can't defend itself, herself, whatever. It cannot. So abortion is bad. Now, is anything needs to be changed about it? I don't know that anything needs to be changed about it. But we've got to protect that life that cannot protect itself. I do want to support the women the best we can. I'm thank the good Lord I'm not the one that carries that child. But we've got to protect that child. Abortion is wrong. I thank the good Lord that somebody had enough common sense up there in Washington, D.C. to vote to change it from where it was 50 years ago. I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. We go now to the up to 3-minute wrap-up, final questions, and we'll go back to Ms. Usselton.
Is that the
Okay,
only question?
when your green light's
Okay.
on, you can address that question or whatever you want to address. You've got 3
Okay.
minutes.
All right, I got 3 minutes. Like he says, life may begin at conception, but does that mean that child care, is going to start at that time? There's people out there that's having kids that doesn't want them, and they're being abused, the children are. And I wonder which is going to be better, to have an abortion and get rid of that child before it has feelings, or to have that child and then have him be abused, to be starved to death by someone that didn't want him to begin with. So, he can feel that, and they've been babies killed every day by abuse. And I don't believe that I don't believe that abortion's right. But like I say, I don't believe that this gentleman or any other gentleman has a right to tell us what we can do and cannot do with our own bodies. And that's just the way I believe. I'm not out here to be a baby killer, as we are being called. Democrats are baby killers. We are not. We don't want to kill babies. We just don't want people telling us what we can do and cannot do, because it won't stop there. It'll go on to be able to. Contraception, I think, is the next thing up. They want to do away with contraceptions. Well, that's wrong too. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, so if that's your statement, okay. We'll go back to Representative Cheryl. You've got up to 3 minutes for a closing statement. Again, get up close and personal with that microphone.
Again, thank you all. This is a very important issue that has come about, and I just want to let folks know that if you don't want the child, there's a lot of people out here in our society that does want a child, and they spend lots of money, thousands of dollars, to adopt a child. So give these children that's unborn a chance to come into our society, and let some of these people that want to adopt a child adopt them and let them live. Anyway, let's change the subject a little bit. I just want people to know that as I've been elected state representative in the 43rd District, that we have tried to help pass resolutions, we've tried to pass laws that helps people. And I can go back to the first bill that I carried when I was first elected in 2016 to try to help our volunteer fire departments, volunteer rescue squad people out here to help them to have a license plate. They go out here and work for us for nothing and don't get paid. So we tried to help them with a license plate through the state that they don't have to pay for a license plate through the state. All they have to pay maybe the wheel tax or something like that. So things like that are very important. We've tried to help constituents as they've called the office in Nashville or if they've called at home. Different people has a lot of different needs. We try to help them. We try to help them with unemployment, try to help them with different health needs or roads or whatever it may be. You know, people call about it and we try to help that. 10-cure issues. We've tried to help people with 10-cure issues. You know, things like that. That we try to, when people call, we try our best to call them back. We might not can help them, but we can try. And I just want people to know as they call the office in Nashville to talk to my Assistant Secretary, Miss Sherry Smith, she tries her best when someone comes in or calls in, she tries to reach out to whatever department it may be, the need that they have to work with, wherever department that it might be. She will try her best and she'll work hard to try to find that answer or help that person, whatever it is. And I just want people to know, as I've told before, in my time since I was first elected in 2016, with the help of the good Lord and with the people that has voted for me and helped me, to call the office in Nashville. It's 615-741-1963. Our home number is 931-935-8488. Please call. Hey, we'll try our best to help you the best we can. And I definitely ask for your prayer, support, and vote November the 8th. And again, thank you for helping me in the primary August the 4th to win that. And I hope we can go forward and help in the great state of Tennessee and here in Warren County and White County. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Representative Cheryl and Cheryl Usselton. Thank you all. Appreciate both of you coming and presenting your views. This is what it's all about, sharing your views and your political philosophy with the voters. That's coming up November 8th, so let's get ready for it. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's go ahead and get up our next slate, and that will be our Warren County Commission District 2, that special election for the vacant seat. That will be Charles Dotson, Dana Mullican, and Summer Walker. Come on up. And here again, I'm shipping that microphone cable back to the vendors, brand new out of the package, and it's got a problem. So come on up, sit close, be good friends down there, and share the microphone. The stacking order will go to Mr. Dotson first, second to Dana Mullican, and winding up with Summer Walker. Okay? Are we ready? Okay, Mr. Dotson, you go first, and let's see, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
All right. Well, my name is Charles Dotson. I don't have to get as close to this microphone as some others. I'm a Pentecostal preacher, so. But I've lived in this county all my life. My dad raised me and my brother here out by the airport. He had a dozer business, construction business. Was known in this community for doing that forever. Graduated Warren County High School in 1988 and was blessed to play for the Warren County Pioneers and made all mid-state my senior year for them. And I'm deeply embedded in this community. My family is. We've raised our 2 kids. Me and my wife of 34 years have raised our 2 children here. My son-in-law is the new jail director. My daughter is a speech pathologist at Bobby Ray. My son works at Bridgestone. I myself have worked at Carrier. I've been a supervisor in a water utility district here in Warren County. I worked at Oster for a little while, Smith. I'm a full-time pastor now in East Sparta Church of God. I've been a preacher for 30 years and a full-time pastor for 28 of that. I've dealt with people. I know how to deal with people. And I know how they think and how to take care of situations in a calm and timely and orderly manner. And I would appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We appreciate it, Mr. Dotson. You just heard from Charles Dotson, one of the three candidates we have this evening for the vacant 2nd District seat on the Warren County Commission. So if you're elected, you'll be in this very room. And I want to take a moment to thank Terry Bell, our county executive, very graciously and very helpfully set up the room for us today. We appreciate Mr. Bell and his staff for providing these accommodations. So, all right, we go to the second person in the stacking order, candidate for 2nd District Warren County Commission, Dana Mulliken. And here again, evening things out. You've got 2 minutes, and when your green light comes on, you can start.
Thank you. I'm Dana Mulliken. I think I have spoken what I'm going to say dozens of times as I'm going to sleep. And I didn't really know what I wanted to say until now. In 2017, I decided to run for commissioner. And I was excited, I'm gung-ho, and then 2018 came and I lost by 34 votes. And I was disappointed. But you know, you'll appreciate this. You know, one of my favorite Bible verses is Jeremiah 29:11. And paraphrasing that, you know, God has a plan and he gives us a hope in a future. That wasn't his plan for me. A commissioner came to me, so in 2020, we're doing this again. Are you going to run? I said, I don't know, I want to. There's so much I want to bring to the commission. I mean, I can picture myself sitting here. And a commissioner said, here's my worry for you, Dana, that you will do too good a job. And I sort of raised my eyebrow, and I said, what do you mean by that? She said, I know you. You're going to work, you're going to read, you're going to do everything that you can possibly do to get this job done. And I thought, you're right. I don't buy a car, I don't buy a shirt without doing research. I'm on local committees. One of the committees I'm on is the Collaborative Conferencing Committee for the Warren County School System. Collective bargaining, you might say, for teachers. And so I have learned through that we have the administrative side, we have the WCEA, our Teachers Association side, and we learn to work together. At the state level, I'm one of those people for the Tennessee Education Association who decides who we're endorsing at the state level. And that's been a wonderful experience of working with people throughout the state and cooperating and compromising and coming to an understanding. I understand how to lead. I have led as a department chair, in district level. I have been asked by the president of the Tennessee Education Association to be on their board. They are voting for that this month. I'm hoping to start as a board member for the TEA next month. I can do this job, and I picture myself in this seat. I would love your vote as commissioner. Third time's charm. We're going to get this done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dana Mulliken. We go now to the third and final candidate for 2nd District County Commission, Summer Walker. 2-minute opening statement. You can start when the green light comes on.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and having an interest in getting to know your candidates. Thank you, Southern Standard and WCPI for hosting this event. I am Summer Walker, and I am proud to once again ask for your vote for District 2 County Commissioner. My parents are Donald Bullion, Don Fielding, and the late Jim Fielding. I'm the proud daughter of a Navy veteran. I also had the privilege to witness my stepfather's service as he was a county commissioner in his community. He was an example of what a true public servant should be. I graduated from MTSU in 2004 with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I use that knowledge now to help adolescents in the juvenile justice system receive the support and services to better themselves. I'm a juvenile probation officer, and I have been for almost 18 years. I'm married to Jason T. Walker. We've been married for 14 years. He is the son of Brady and Kathy Walker. Jason has dedicated over 20 years to law enforcement and is an employee of the Warren County Sheriff's Department. Jason tied me to Warren County when we set our dues, and I love this town. I love Warren County. My family and I attend Covenant Fellowship Church. We are blessed with 2 children who both attend Warren County High School. Olivia is a senior, and Carson is a sophomore. To say we are proud is an understatement. I have always been involved in my community through my children. Whether I was a coach or a booster club president, Olivia decided not to cheer her senior year, so I tried to decide how could I get more involved in Warren County. I've had several people reach out to me regarding the open seat in the commission, so I found myself realizing this is a way that I could give back. I will listen intently to be fully educated on all topics, helping me make the best decisions for District 2. My purpose will always be to do what is best for District 2. I am not here to make promises that I cannot keep. For the last 8 months, I've had so much fun meeting many residents, going door to door, and getting to speak one-on-one has been a true blessing. I've worked hard on trying to get to know as many voters as possible. If elected, I promise my determination and hard work will continue. I've put in hours and hours of hard work for this position. Having to start again and prove myself for a second time was disheartening, but I hold true to my promises that I have made to all my neighbors that I would do everything I can to make sure their wants and needs are heard. I will be a voice for the residents of District 2, for all the residents of District 2. To all the residents in District 2, if elected, I promise you I will take this seat, and I ask you to get out and vote one more time for Summer Walker.
Okay, Summer Walker, thank you so much. We're pretty much on schedule here, David. So we're going to try to stay to this schedule as close as we can. So I'm going to ask you again to listen very closely to the question so we can state it once, and then you'll have your time to go. We're going to go back in that same order. Charles Dotson will go first. You know, this microphone sharing is working out pretty well, thanks to you all. Maybe, David, the next time we do this, we won't gather up so much equipment. When Richard Myers is back, it looks kind of like a General Grant's army as the baggage train. He carries everything, so he leaves nothing behind, but maybe we can kind of narrow this down. Next time, we're going to get directional microphones. These are good quality microphones, but we need directional microphones to deal with the feedback. Chuck Haston, a great WCPI volunteer, is staffing the studio this evening and operating the controls. We couldn't do it without him. Needless to say, Richard Myers, temporarily incapacitated, but he is the station engineer, another wonderful volunteer. I've got to mention Mary E. Cantrell and Dr. Norman Roan, the people that make public radio work in this community. And I'm going to mention, too, the underwriters, those very public-spirited individuals and businesses that write checks every now and then. Thank you so much for supporting public radio, non-commercial, non-partisan public radio. Let's go now to that question. It looks like you will have 2 minutes to respond to the question. And here again, we'll go back to Mr. Dotson. David, have you got the question?
I have the question here, Bill. Thank you so much, and thank you to the candidates. Local government is so important, and it's not given as much attention as it needs, and yet you are the people who make things happen for the citizens, so thank you. So the question is if there is one thing that practically involves everyone in public life agrees on, it's the support for education. But when it comes to voting for taxes to support our schools, the enthusiasm we see during election campaigns often cools and shrivels. Warren County schools, much like public school districts across the nation, are competing for teaching talent. Enrollment in colleges of education has declined markedly in the last few years. Meanwhile, the most experienced educators are heading into retirement. Salary and benefits aren't the only considerations attracting young talent to the classroom, but these things are important. As the county struggles with a deepening crisis in filling positions with highly qualified and motivated teachers, here's the question: would you support a meaningful increase in pay for our educators if you are elected to the county commission? Again, would you support a meaningful increase in pay for our educators if you are elected to the county commission?
Great question. Again, my daughter works for the Warren County school system, and I believe in paying the teachers what they deserve. They teach our children. They need good salary. And from my understanding, there's been several million dollars of COVID money that is sitting here, that if it is properly dealt with and properly used, could fund that for us and other things without having to raise taxes in our county. And so I do support our teachers 100%. Yeah, I want to see my daughter get a good salary. That way I ain't got to give her no more money. Praise God. You know, yeah, I want to see good educators in our schools. I went to school here, and I had some great educators the entire time I was in school here. And yes, we have lost some over the years from, Lord, it's been 35 years since I've been in school. So, and we need to get some more talented teachers here. And I think we need to be, my daughter has told me from time to time, she's looked in DeKalb County, she's looked in Coffee County, she's looked in Rutherford County, and the salaries here in Warren County do not compensate like they do. And I think we need to be more competitive with that.
Okay, David, I want you to read the question part of that. You read the setup, but we're going to ask our candidates to address the question, not the peripherals, the question, okay? We go next to Dana Mulligan.
So the question again is, would you support a meaningful increase in pay for our educators if you're elected to the county commission?
If we want teachers, I think we're going to have to. A lot of people don't understand, and to be honest, until a few years ago, I didn't, the discrepancy in our pay scale. And that's one of the things we're talking about with our collaborative conferencing. When you look at the pay scale, our pay scale goes from 0 years experience to 30 plus. I'm at the 30 plus. And it goes by degrees. So a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, EDS, and a PhD. Okay, here's the interesting thing. At year 1, you have taught 1 year, you're great, you're getting about $1,200. Good for you, you're a new teacher, you need it. At year like 13, you get $12. At year like 16, you get $800. Go getter here who has an EDS, I have worked hard, I'm proud of my degrees, 35 years of experience. I got a raise this year to $79 instead of $75. When we get to year 23, it is $79. Now, at 28, it's $800, and then it's back again. We have got to equalize that. We have got to get our benefits down. For vision and dental, it is $750 a month for our insurance. So a lot of teachers are working for insurance, and we're not competitive. DeKalb County down the road just got a raise of $5,000. We've got to be competitive even with surrounding counties. My own brother went to Manchester. And he said, I hate to leave. A lot of your kids had him, you know him. He said, Dana, it's the money and it's the benefits. And so, yes, if we want teachers and we want quality teachers, we're going to have to. So absolutely, I would.
Thank you. To repeat the question for Ms. Walker, would you support a meaningful increase in pay for our educators if you're elected to the county commission?
I feel, coming in after Miss Dana right then, I feel that she is in the school setting, so I work in juvenile probation, so I work in a school setting but in a different way, and I know hands down, if as a whole, I don't know the finance part, I got to get in and learn about that. But I definitely feel that teachers are leaving, and I know your brother that we're speaking of, and I would definitely want to keep the teachers as much as we can in Warren County. So I definitely, if it is something that is doable, if there's, the money there, I would definitely support us being able to support our teachers and give them the raises to keep them here. I feel that is very important. My daughter, who's going to be starting college, she wants to go into education, so I definitely would want, to set her up successfully in the future, and I don't want her to have to leave that because they can't afford it. So I definitely support teachers.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Summer Walker, and we're going to go back now in that same order with Charles Dotson. And Mr. Dotson, you'll have up to 3 minutes for your closing statement. If you take less, hey, we're good with that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. In my closing statement, I want you to know that I am the Christian, conservative, Republican candidate. And I make no bones about that. If we don't want our county to become a New York, a Chicago, or a Los Angeles, and I know that we're not near that big, but those same policies could pull us in that same direction. We have got to put the right people in the right place and the right positions with the right beliefs. And I don't have a hard feeling toward any of these up here. You know, we was told about sharing the microphone. We got some good morals around here in Warren County. I love Warren County. Lived here all my life. I want to see Warren County prosper because I got 2 grandkids. I want to see grow up in this county. I want to see them do well. I want to see them love Warren County just as much as I have. I want to see them prosper. I want to see them raise their kids, my great-grandkids, in this county. If I ever have a grandson, I'd love to see him play football for Warren County because that was a joy for me to play for the Pioneers. Folks, we've got to go vote. We've got to get out. We've got to put the right people in place. I'm Second Amendment. I believe in carrying. You can ask some people, I carry 3 on me sometimes. You say, what's that for? Because I want to make sure what I'm shooting, that's done. You see, folks, we live in the greatest country on the planet, and let's keep it that way. We live in the South. We live in the Bible Belt. I'm telling you, I heard Miss Usselton say being a Christian is being Christ-like. Well, you know, we're striving for that every day. I'm a Christian. I preach. I'm a full-time pastor. It's what I do. I deal with people every single day. I deal with problems. Every single day I'm in my office, I have somebody come in. I have all kinds of situations come in, marital problems, all kinds. I deal with people. I know how to deal with people. I've been a supervisor before. I've led for 28 years. I know what I'm doing in that situation. And I would really appreciate your support and your vote. I am your Republican candidate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Charles Dotson, let's go over now in that same order to Dana Mulliken.
In this election season that has been going on for about, 15 years, it seems like. Last year, Joseph Stotts, the Republican chairperson, and I met to talk about education. And we talked about education for about 5 minutes. And then we talked about mental health. We talked about our Christian beliefs and how we're both Christians. We talked about our children and some of the struggles that our children have. I have a son with autism, and so, you know, I think he understood some of that. I sponsor a club at the high school with his wife. Why are you telling me that, Dana? We have got to get along. That is one of the reasons I ran in 2017. We are Warren Countyans. I am not Nancy Pelosi. You are not Mitch McConnell. We are Warren County. We can get along. We can come together. I'm a gun owner. I'm a Christian. I'm a moderate. I don't, and no offense, I don't think labels do us any good. We can get together like Joseph and I did at Fouch's over a cup of coffee, and we can get things done. We are in this wonderful room. Democrats and Republicans and independents need to get in this room making policy for Warren County. For Warren County. The end. Period. And isn't that the bottom line? Isn't that the bottom line? And I don't mean to be so passionate, but I am. I'm passionate about this, about getting along and getting to the people's work, the people of Warren County's work. So, third time, I would love your vote. I'm humbled and honored by the people who have already reached out to me. No hard feelings for any. These are fine people sitting beside me, but it's my turn. It's my turn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, that's Dana Mulliken, Democratic nominee. This is, again, for the 2nd District vacancy on the Warren County Commission. The Warren County Commission has 24 members, 2 from each of the districts. Let's go now to Summer Walker to wind things up. She is running as an independent. Ms. Walker.
It has truly been a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you again to the Southern Standard and WCPI for hosting. I love Warren County, and if elected, my goal will be to represent all residents in District 2 with an informed and educated voice. I have a servant heart and a mind, and my purpose will always be to help Warren County thrive. I want a community that my children want to be a part of for many years to come. As I stated earlier, I've been working hard in hopes to obtain the seat of District 2 County Commission. I wanted this seat in August, and when the opportunity arose for me to run again, there was never a question. I was in. In the August election, I lost by 37 votes. I was the next highest finisher. I have put in many hours and knocked on hundreds of doors, probably close to 1,000. Many people ask why we were having to run again, since they felt logically the seat should have gone to the next highest vote getter, which would have been me. But due to the guidelines, here we are. Here I am, asking again for your vote. I, Summer Walker, ask you to support me and for you to vote for me in the November election. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Once again, in this order, Charles Dodson, Dana Mulliken, and Summer Walker running for that vacancy in 2nd District Warren County Commission. Thanks to our audience. You know, you've been just marvelous tonight, as all of our audiences have been throughout these Southern Standard WCPI political forums. You've been very respectful, very attentive, and I believe very thoughtful. So I appreciate your being here. David Plazas, here again, you know, we're going to ask the candidates to address the question. I think it was Henry Kissinger, one of the more colorful secretaries of state we've had in U.S. history, got so frustrated with some of the press conferences, he finally said in exasperation, "When is somebody going to ask me a question I have an answer for?" And so he was just waiting for the right question to come along. He had answers, but they didn't necessarily hit the question. So we're going to ask, as we wrap up in the final phase tonight, to please pay attention to the operative part of the question. Okay. All right. How you think it's going so far, David?
You know, so far so good. I've enjoyed the fact that people are getting together, wanting to talk to each other. This is really important. And Bill and I met several years ago when I first came to McMinnville in 2018 to speak to the Rotary Club. Mm-hmm. And we had this wonderful conversation about a campaign that I lead called Civility Tennessee, which is about trying to bring people together on a bunch of issues. We've talked about everything from the state of our country, the state of why Tennessee has a very low voter turnout rate, which I hope will be reversed this year. I hope early voting starts next week, and we'll have the election November 8th. But at the end of the day, it's about empowering yourself. It's about taking control of your citizenship. So it's not just being a doormat or being polite. It really is about being the empowered citizen who upholds society, who has the right to criticize society, but also has an obligation to be responsible to society and find solutions to make it better. And I see that happening right here in McMinnville.
Well, and that's very true. And here again, as I mentioned earlier, our public radio underwriters are the two major political parties in Warren County. The Republican Party of Warren County, represented by Joseph Stotts, is back here. Good to see you, Joseph. And the Democratic Party of Warren County, Joseph Moore, is here also. So we want to thank you both for what I just have to say is a rare moment of real bipartisanship and community support. You're listening to McMinnville Public Radio 91.3 WCPI. Chuck, we're going to keep it here at the County Administrative Building. I want to mention once again our appreciation to Terry Bell, our county executive, for getting the room set up this evening and for his hospitality. Chuck Haston is running the controls at the studio this evening. We're going to have more to say about the relocation of WCPI studios and a special event coming up October 22nd. I think that's a Saturday evening. We're going to have some live music. A local bluegrass group will be performing some cover songs, but a lot of original work that came from songwriters right here in Warren County. That event will be broadcast on October 22. It will originate at New Union Methodist Church out on Highway 30, about a mile approximately east of the Highway 70 junction. You all are welcome to be there. We'll have more to say about that. But let's move on now. David, coming up next on our program, we're going to have the U.S. House of Representatives. We have two candidates, Wayne Steele, the Democratic nominee. Just make haste and come on up here and take your seat. Okay, Mr. Steele? Okay, make haste. Okay, and also Mike Winton, the independent candidate. Come on up. You will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. You'll have 3 minutes to deal with the question, which will be the same for both of you, and 3 minutes for a closing statement. So in the luck of the draw that we had earlier, Mike Winton goes first, Wayne Steele goes second. Here again, we're doing the microphone sharing. Get as close as you can to that microphone. There you go. That's good. And so let's go ahead with the opening statements. Mike Winton, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I want to give you some numbers tonight that are important. 18%. That represents the approval rating of your seated legislative body of Washington, D.C. That's not my poll. That's not some independent poll. That's what the people of this district and the people of the United States think about our legislative body right now. The second number I want you to think about is $31 trillion. That's the debt that our country has acquired and has placed on you as a burden as a taxpayer over the last several years. We haven't had a balanced budget, and I don't know for sure what the year, but since Bill Clinton was the president. And you know how they accommodated that? It wasn't because he was a Democrat or Republican. It was because it was done bipartisan. They all came together and realized that the people of the United States deserve better than to be inherited that debt. At this point now, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to leave our country in better shape tomorrow for our children and grandchildren than we did today. And that's not been accommodated. The second thing I want you to talk about here this evening is that in that debt, we're spending money and tons of waste that could be cut immediately and put back into families' homes and put back in your economy. We hear a lot of reports on the national news that the economy is good, but how many people here is paying more for gas than you want to pay? How many people here is paying more for a gallon of milk than you want to pay? The economy is in a position where the Fed says we need to slow it down. And see, folks, that happens in inflation and recession, and the other side of that is we don't necessarily have to slow it down. We can actually progress the other side by stop spending and decrease that interest again, because what's going to happen in this market is we're going to see those families that are suffering right now, they're not going to be able to afford rent in a couple of years. They're not going to be able to afford the things that they need for their families. And we need good leadership in Washington. We need strong leadership that has the ability to stand up and say, no, we don't need any more rubber stamps representing us, we the people. We need a strong, independent candidate, and I'm that candidate. I will stand for you, and I will stand in the aisle. I won't reach across the aisle. I'll stand in the aisle. Bill, I thank you guys for being here this evening, Ben Loman, WCPI, and the Southern Standard, and I thank you folks for being here because that's we the people, and we need representation.
Thank you very much, Mike Winton, and you kept it to under 3 minutes. We appreciate that. We'll make up some time here. We're going over to Wayne Steele, the Democratic nominee, 4th District, U.S. House of Representatives. Mr. Steele, all yours for up to 3 minutes.
Well, thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you for the thank you to the Southern Standard, and I just want to introduce myself. I did go to Motlow here in McMinnville, but I was born and raised in Fayetteville, Tennessee, 7th generation Tennessean. I grew up in Fayetteville, Lincoln County. My dad's side's from Franklin County as well. The majority of my background has been in healthcare and a small business owner as a massage therapist, as well as most recently, I was a COVID-19 contact tracer for a state subcontractor, where I saw how poorly handled the pandemic was in the state of Tennessee. I'm here before you tonight in a state of upheaval where both parties are attacking one another and diluting the human dignity of their opposers. Those in Washington and now even locally call each other names in some childish attempt to try to win. Well, I don't play that game. I didn't tolerate insults in my primary, and I won't tolerate insults of the 6 other opponents in this general election. Differences in policy is fair game. I'd like to add that I appreciate winning Warren County. I won this district in my primary with 2/3 of the vote. But right now is a scary time because we've both experienced inflation and a rebound and yo-yo effect of the pandemic's crash in prices, on top of the government that's hell-bent on controlling every move we make, and this is not small government. We must return to everyone minding their own business instead of trying to impose their will on others. While we sit here and Desjardins doesn't have the guts to face his opponents, I'm not going to vote for a state religion like he will, requiring others to have a certain faith. We broke off from the Church of England for a reason. Yet this is how Desjardins votes, limiting our access to health care, contraception, and who we marry. If the Founding Fathers meant for the Constitution and our laws to be interpreted by a religion, they would have put Christianity, Christian, Bible, God, or Jesus somewhere in it. I will fight for American jobs instead of sending them overseas. And unlike Desjardins, I will keep the jobs here for oil instead of voting with Russian oil to continue to use their oil instead of being energy independent. I'll fight for you to lead the life you see fit, not how your neighbor does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. We're going to go to the question now. Here again, let me implore you, let me beg you to pay attention to the operative part of the question, which would be the last part of the question. So we're going to go first back over to Mr. Winton, Mike Winton, running as an independent. And David, what's the question for our congressional candidates?
So I'm so glad that both candidates mentioned oil independence, because this is precisely the question today. Families in Tennessee's 4th Congressional District are financially struggling with the galloping inflation of 2022. A major driver in the surging cost of living and the daily commute is the price at the pump, what we're forced to pay for gasoline and diesel. After a few weeks of welcome decline in the high price of fuel, the global oil cartel OPEC Plus announced last week it would cut crude oil production by as much as 2 million barrels a day, virtually assuring another round of higher prices for the liquid hydrocarbons on which we depend. Here's the question. If elected to Congress, what actions would you pursue to reduce America's dependence on oil and the economic and political power of oil producers?
Okay, that goes first to Mr. Winton.
I feel like the first thing we need to do is realize what we as America have to offer to our own supply needs. Certainly fossil fuels is something that diminishes over use, and the more we use, the less we have. But I believe the first thing we do is we cut back on the restrictions that are limiting the production within the oil companies here in our own country. We really don't need to be dependent on OPEC or Russia for our oil. Now, we might be able to negotiate and purchase oil from them, but we need to do it on our terms. We don't need to do it on their terms. And if we reduce the liabilities for the oil companies, reduce the restrictions, and look back at the pipeline that was supplying a good supply of oil here that could decrease the numbers at the pumps, I think that us as Americans would realize everybody pays more, and it costs a lot of money, and that money comes out of your pocket, which takes away from your food supply, takes away from all your needs as a family, and by doing that, we become good stewards of doing what America does best, and that's to be an energy efficient company or country on our own, not depending on other countries.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we go over same question.
And let me repeat the question for Mr. Steele. If elected to Congress, what actions would you pursue to reduce America's dependence on oil and the economic and political power of oil producers?
I do believe that testing. Can you hear me? I do believe that we don't need to be dependent on foreign sources of oil or foreign sources of energy, period. I think we need to open up the marketplace to where there's currently, I think it's 14,000 oil contracts that's not been tapped yet. Why are these not, if we're in a big crisis, then why are we not acting upon this in a more expedited manner? I know that it takes time to tap an oil well. Time's a wasting. The thing about it is that in Washington, I would make sure that the legislation that's already been passed to get us over to hybrid cars and electric powered cars. I mean, listen, I know that people like their trucks and cars, and I like that feel of a combustion engine as well. There are electric cars that have just as high of horsepower and torque as combustion engines, but we have to move to renewable energy, and there's already money that's set aside for that. And instead of it being squandered from Washington and going through every hand all the way through these corporations, it needs to be focused on executing it properly. And I will be that person that is the oversight of that. For that matter, we need to invest in looking at other technologies of transportation and how we power it, because lithium is also an expendable energy. It's also a limited form of energy. So if we have all these lithium ion batteries and then they, die within 6 years or 10 years or something like that, then we're still contributing to the environment negatively. So I would stand with that I would help enforce and make sure that the dollars that have already been set aside get used properly. We've already seen that the supply that has been released from the strategic oil supply lowered the price of gas in the last 6 months. OPEC seems to be, it wants to control the price of gas to help the local corporations because they're mad that there's a corporate tax now. And so the demand is higher now that we're out of the pandemic, and they are just gouging us for the profit for the little man.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go back to Mr. Winton for the closing statement. I think you have up to 3 minutes for that.
The other number I wanted to share with you folks this evening is we, as Tennesseans, are ranked 46th. I don't know if you knew the new poll or not. I'm not talking about the University of Tennessee football team. I'm talking about us as a we the people. That's our voting status right now. We're ranked 46th. If you look at the last primary election, you look at your last county election, numbers are down drastically. I've visited all 15 counties within our district in the last several months. I've visited with close to 10,000 people, and the simple term that they use is they're so aggravated at the polarization of party politics that we can't even sit decently and discuss about the needs and the wants because of the anger, the hate, and the greed that have come with that. Folks, if we continue not to vote, we'll continue to get rubber stamps. You need a representative that's going to represent you. You need a representative that'll show up for a debate because Warren County deserves it. You need a candidate that will come to your football games and your graduations and be involved with your families. You need a candidate that will not only go to Washington, but he'll come back home and serve you and not be a ghost, not show up at any of your events, not show up at your county commission meetings. That's the only way you're going to know what's going on. I will have to depend on these county commissioners and county mayors and city legislative bodies to tell us what we need to do, because that's the only way you get a true voice in Washington. You will not get it with a rubber stamp. And if you continue to want to do that, that's okay. But I think we can do better. I think we, the people, deserve to do better. The Constitution says one nation under God, indivisible. And if they continue to divide us, guess what's going to happen? We need to come together, folks, put those things aside and want to do the best we can for our families. Those are what's important. Leaving our children and grandchildren in a better place than we did yesterday is important. They're going to be in really bad shape if we don't make a turn. And this midterm election is important. I'm Mike Winton. I'm an independent candidate, and I'm asking for your vote and support November the 8th.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike Winton, independent candidate. We wind up with Mr. Wayne Steele, the Democratic nominee.
Thank you for having me here tonight. In closing, I'll leave you with this. I've reached out with many of my Republican friends and acquaintances, and I've not separated myself like people have done in this country in the last 5 years or so. I haven't alienated myself from my Republican friends, and that's based upon my Christian faith. But they agree, we all agree on some certain points, and Republicans feel like they're not being represented in Washington by Desjardins. They believe we should have term limits on all elected officials, and I mean from the ditch digger to the vice president. They believe that Bill Lee is detrimental to the state's public education system. And this is our second debate here, or little forum, so I've taken a hint about numbers, and I'll give you a number myself. And that is, students in Tennessee are funded $4,000 less on average than the national average. What does that say about how we are investing in our children? What does it say about how we think about public school teachers? I don't just have one public school teacher who I can name that influenced me. I looked through and thanked public school teachers whenever I started running for office and found out it was about half and half Republican and Democrat, and I didn't care, because that's not what public education is about. And if I go to Washington, I will introduce legislation that would bar the state legislature, all state legislatures, from using federal tax dollars to fund private schools and charter schools. Many Republicans also believe that we ought to have some form of medical cannabis legalized nationwide. And As a Christian, I believe it's part of God's medicine. And finally, they believe women's lives should be protected from death just as much as babies. Many Republican women aren't hooping and hollering and marching and chanting and organizing, but they're sitting quietly, knowing that they've had a miscarriage in their life and would be angry if they were investigated for trying to cause it. They know if their daughter's or family member's life were on the line, no medical procedure should be spared to save their life because it has value too. We may not agree on guns or taxation, but we must get back to treating our neighbors as thyself. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. We are back. Well, we're running a little bit behind, but Wayne Steele, Democratic nominee, and Mike Winton, the independent. How's the sound back there in the back? Okay. We continue to struggle with this. Okay, have you got sound now? Is that any better? You got sound? Okay, good. Okay, David, like I say, we're more or less on schedule.
That's right. We're in our final stretch here, the final quarter, shall we say, with the McMinnville Alderman.
Okay, let's bring up the aldermanic candidates. We have Carrie Curtis Morton, Everett Brock, Steve Harvey, Deetra Dunlap, and Larry York. And this is going to be interesting to see how we share one microphone. But you might want to pull up another chair over there, Steve, or somebody pull up another chair, because we're going to have 5 candidates. Once again, I want to apologize if you got omitted from the newspaper article announcing the participating candidates, because we did have a little bit of a communication problem in the transition, in the personnel transition. We'll try to do better on that next time. We appreciate your gracious indulgence. Let's go ahead now. David, I think these aldermanic candidates, we have all 5 of them. They're going to get 2 minutes for an opening statement. And according to the little lottery we had, legal lottery, by the way, Carrie Curtis Morton goes first, and the microphone is right in front of you. And again, I beg the candidates to get real close to that microphone so we can kind of deal with the feedback problem here. Okay, Ms. Morton, 2 minutes.
Good evening. I want to thank the Southern Standard and CPI for allowing us to speak tonight, and BLTV for the videoing. I may be considered a surprise speaker, as my name was left off of the Sunday's edition of the paper. I'm Carrie Curtis Morton. I'm a wife, mother, and grandmother. I was born and raised in Warren County. I've been blessed by having strong leadership roles from family, teachers, and coworkers. My parents have always worked and taught me to have a strong work ethic. They have taught me the value of a dollar, respect, and responsibility. I have strong Christian conservative values and am a member of the Mount Leo Church of Christ. I remember when industry was thriving in Warren County and the bustle of going to shop downtown on Saturdays. Summer showtime at the Park Theater experience are the best in a small town. I was excited to be chosen by Patty Clark for the Pioneerette team. If you know Patty, you understand hard work and the excellence that she demands. We had the privilege of opening the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. We had hours of hard work, fundraising to get there. Warren County High School meant something to everyone watching on national television. Our county was filled with pride. My career started in high school. The late T.E. McGee was my marketing teacher. He also expected excellence and hard work. He taught skills of excellence in building and running a business. I still use those today. My dream of a salon business started then on paper. I was blessed again to have Gail Yates as a mentor in my career. She gave me the opportunity to learn and sharpen my skills. She again required hard work and excellence. Currently, I have owned my business over 20 years. I've given back to my profession by growing others in the service industry. I'm on the board of both the Harrison Ferry Volunteer Fire Department and Community Center, serving as secretary. I have a leadership role in Relay for Life for over 10 years in the logistical planning for this event. I am also on the board of the Laurel Creek Cemetery. Problems within the city stormwater has gotten me involved. I've been attending alderman meetings for 5 years working for a solution to this problem. Government should be proactive, working efficiently for all residents. We are all on the same team. I believe I have the leadership skills to bring pride back to McMinnville.
Okay, thank you. That's Carrie Curtis Morton. We go next to Everett Brock.
Strangled that in this cord.
And again, yeah, work close to the microphone.
My name is Zephyrd Brock, and I'm running for re-election as an alderman in the city of McMinnville. I'd like to thank WCPI, BLTV, and the Southern Standard for hosting this debate. The last 4 years have been truly remarkable, I think, for the most positive and progressive in the city's history. The Milner Center renovation was completed last year at the budget, and the attendance has increased significantly there. Our sewer plant has been completely has been completely renovated. We have created a comprehensive stormwater plan that has already won a state award for water retention and wetlands at the Bobby Ray School. We sold the blue building for $250,000 and turned it into a tax generator. We opened the dog park, which is already expanding. We have continued our street paving and started sidewalk renovations and spending between $500 and $1 million per year on both. We have expanded water, sewer, and stormwater upgrades, and we've added new park restrooms. As of 2024, our debt will be eliminated except for the Milner Center and the Park Theater. Our Tourism Development Board is 100% not funded by taxpayer dollars. Our tourism efforts are saving the average taxpayer 15% on their real estate taxes. We're working with the state for an extension of the Magnus Drive and the building of a sidewalk from King Street all the way to the Motlow campus. Our active use of grants has saved taxpayers over $125,000 this year. Our state firefighting rating is the best in the state for a city of our size. Our downtown investment is paying huge dividends with every space on Main Street filled. Mulford Street is coming to life. This brings in new tax dollars. We've not had a tax increase in 12 years and have retained earnings, record earnings for 2022-23. As chairman of the Finance Committee, I'm especially proud of that, and it has truly been a team effort between the staff, the departments, and the board. Conservative financial management is a key. I would like to continue serving as your alderman for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you've just heard from Everett Brock. Next on the list, Steve Harvey, also an incumbent.
I guess we should have compared notes because you're going to hear a few of the same things. My name is Steve Harvey, and I am here to ask for your vote and support for re-election for alderman for the city of McMinnville. I was elected to my first term in 2014 and then re-elected in 2018. I'm chairman of the Building and Grounds Committee. I also serve on both the Parks and Rec and Finance Committees. Since I've been in office, some of the accomplishments I have been directly involved with or spearheaded are a revamping of the Codes Department that is now the Community Development Department. I was also very involved in the hiring process of the new director of that department, David Baird, who is now in the process of rewriting some city codes to make things more user-friendly for both contractors and non-contractor citizens. I was deeply involved in the Milner Center renovation. I served on the ad hoc committee to oversee the project, and that $9.2 million project came in at budget even after contingencies and change orders. The Blue Building. 2 years ago, when I became chairman of the Building and Grounds Committee, I decided to make the Blue Building property my #1 priority. We've been talking about it since I was elected in 2014, and I decided to push to get rid of the property one way or the other. When no one else thought a renovation was practical or even possible, I brought it before the committee and the board, and ultimately the board voted unanimously to sell the property to 2 local developers who are in the process of starting a multi-million-dollar residential project. Since I came in office, the board has enacted 2 different street paving programs and is in the middle of a sidewalk improvement program now. We are also in the process of conducting a stormwater engineering assessment of the city's stormwater drainage problems in order to better help us address these issues. We also just gave all city employees a substantial raise with another step raise to follow. In summary, the city of McMinnville is absolutely moving in the right direction. Are we perfect? No. But we have a beautiful and vibrant downtown, an above-average parks and rec system. Stormwater, streets, and sidewalks are improving, and we have extremely strong and well-staffed fire and police departments. All this has been done and maintained with no property or sales tax increases since I've been in office on the board, and the city has financially finished in the black for the last 2 fiscal years. Again, my name is Steve Harvey, and I would appreciate your vote for re-election for Alderman for the city of McMinnville. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve Harvey. We go next in order to Deetra Dunlap, and you've got 2 minutes for an opening statement. And get close to the microphone, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. If you're here tonight, it's because you care enough about the future of this city to become better informed. So thank you all for attending, to Mr. Plazas, BLTV, and to the Southern Standard and WCPI for hosting this event. I'm Deetra Dunlap, candidate for Alderman. I was born and raised in McMinnville, attended public schools, and graduated from Warren County High School, where I first met my husband, Joe. I went on to work with my mom as a wallpaper hanger, and there's hardly a street in this town where we didn't work in houses and businesses, getting to meet people from all walks of life who became our lifelong friends. These friendships are part of my motivation for being here tonight, as they have given me a sense of what people want and need. My love of community comes from a long record of volunteerism of various local organizations. I worked for many years at Boyd Christian School in various roles, including their testing coordinator, guidance counselor, and as an advisor during their school's accreditation process. At the age of 50, I enrolled in the Tennessee Reconnect program at Motlow State Community College, where I earned an associate degree in mass communication, had the opportunity to work directly with Motlow President Michael Torrance as part of an institutional oversight committee. I was a member of the National Society of Leadership and Success, and I'm also an active Tennessee Achieves mentor to local high school students pursuing higher education. Until I became an official political candidate, I worked for PEG Broadcasting, where I was on air each day, bringing you your local weather. With all of that being said, the most important roles in my life are as wife, mother, and grandmother. I'm blessed to have 4 generations of my family here, and I want to put my energy and resources to work so that McMinnville continues to be a place where we can all call home, where we can work, play, worship, and enjoy retirement together while respectfully embracing our differences. My only motivation for being here is to serve this city, and I hope that I get to do that, and that's why I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You just heard from Deetra Dunlap. Let's go over now to Mr. Larry York.
Hello, I'm Larry York. Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me now? All right. Hello, I'm Larry York, and I'm running for city alderman. I'm a conservative Christian who has resided here in McMinnville since 1990. I'm a family man, a local business owner, and an avid member of a local church. First of all, I want to say I love McMinnville, and we all live here because of the quality of life that we have here, and we need to protect that. My primary focus is to continue to make McMinnville a great place to live while creating a work environment for generations to come. We have 4 children and 1 godchild, plus 8 granddaughters. With 4 of our children working here locally, I feel strongly about the future of McMinnville and the direction in which we are heading. I'm passionate about ensuring the same opportunities for the citizens of McMinnville that I've received myself when I first moved here to McMinnville. As a local business owner, for over 30 years, I'm familiar with what it takes to operate a successful business and understand the importance of being able to work with a group of people to accomplish a set goal. I've learned the values of hard work and honesty at a very young age while working the family business, which was our tobacco farming, cattle, and we also had a Goodyear store in the Delta of Mississippi. And at the age of 19, I ran a 24-hour road service truck on my own, and which I believe that determination and integrity should be the forefront of all things. If elected for city alderman, I promise to work hard and to do so with integrity to help improve McMinnville. These things are very important to me, not just because that's how I was raised, because that's all that I know. What I want from the citizens of McMinnville to remember about me is that I promise what I know I can do, and that is to do research, provide you, the voter, thorough information with transparency and honesty. And I'm Larry York, and I appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. York, and let's go now to our question. We're going to start back in the same order. Carrie Curtis Morton got the first question. Will be the same question for all of the candidates. There's a setup to these questions. This one will not be long. Listen to the operative part of the question, if you would. Okay, we'll start. David, the question for our aldermanic candidates.
Thank you very much, Bill. If you win election or re-election to McMinnville's governing board, what would be your top priorities? Name 2 of them for projects or programs that would improve the quality of life for our citizens. And assuming these things would cost money, how would you propose to fund them? So again, 2 top priorities, and how would you fund them?
The top priorities for me would be the streets and the stormwater drainage. So those are 2 things that I think our city needs very desperately. The way of funding them, I'm under the understanding that we have COVID money. So COVID money should be available to take care of some of those just straight out of the gate.
Okay, Zephyrd Brock, 2 top priorities, and how would you fund them? Somebody was stepping on the mic cable. It was an accident.
The 2 priorities that I have are a police station and our continuing paving operation. We've been paving for, since 2010, I think, and we do somewhere around $700,000 to $1 million a year, and we're going to have to up that. We do have some federal money, and we are paying cash for things that we normally would have to finance. Police station is going to be something that probably we will have to finance part of it. Maybe we'll pay a large part down, but those are the two things we want to look at first. Third, we're looking at the fire department and the fire department equipment and trucks down there. So there's 3 actually. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we go next to Steve Harvey.
I totally agree with Everett about the police department. That's probably our next big issue and big expense that we've got coming up that needs to be addressed. I do, however, support a renovation of a current building. Not sure which one that is yet. We have some choices over new construction. I think that's been done successfully in the past in different areas, like the building that we're sitting in right now. And I think that would be a good choice for us to go there. I think it's currently affordable in our budget that we have now in the general fund, and it's very doable. Secondly, we have an increasing homeless problem in this town. We've been made aware of it at recent meetings. I knew the problem was there, but I didn't know to the extent of it what it was. The city has recently gone in partners with the home organization. We've donated property to put up some temporary housing for homeless people, but that's not anywhere near going to solve the problem. It's a very difficult situation, but I think we have to do something to help this problem out. You know, you got people that are in that situation for different reasons. So the solution's not the same for all of those people. But I think we do need to address it, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. We almost seem to be an attraction from people from other towns that come here that are homeless and struggling. So that's going to be one of my top 2 priorities if reelected, and we'll figure out how to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You've just heard from Steve Harvey. We go now to Deetra Dunlap.
I have to agree with Steve. Ever since I never thought I'd really hear the words homeless community population in my hometown, but once, like he said, once you hear it and know it, it's really hard for me to, I mean, it's human beings. And yes, our city needs infrastructure, our city needs a police station, our city needs sidewalks and streets, and everything is a worthy cause. But I just think these are human beings, and we need to address the growing homeless population. And then also, our city needs to work on more services, mental health services, drug and alcohol treatment. And a lot of these are the reasons that some of these folks might find themselves in the situations of being homeless. So how they would pay for it, I'm a newcomer to the political arena, so I can provide honest feedback. I have tried to study and educate myself on all things McMinnville politics, but that's where I would be learning how to pay for things. But those are the 2 most important issues that I would see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We just heard from Deetra Dunlap, and we're going to be winding up with Larry York on that question. Mr. York.
Well, one thing that I did was I went around to the local business owners and residents, and I asked them, you know, what was the concerns and what do they want to see, you know, fixed or repaired, or what issues they thought that we had here in the local city. And the streets and the water drainage was 2 of the biggest ones that came up. That was the 2 that kept popping up in you know, every time that when I went into a local business. And you know, street, you know, potholes, the repaving, you know, striping of the lines. And water drainage was a big one, like Carrie said. You know, the flooding, you know, that's been an issue that's been going on not for, you know, for a few years, but for a lot of years. And it seems to be, you know, not being handled properly. And I don't know where what budget has been allocated for. I don't want to be misquoted on this or not or anything, but you know, things have been, you know, needed to be fixed in the community for a long time, and it's not being repaired. And that's something that I would like to do if I get elected. I'd like to see if I can help in that area. I've been, you know, running a business, and you know, not only locally but nationally and internationally for years. And I think I can help, you know, if I am elected, to help the board in these areas. And another area, you know, another thing that came up that's been real popular with the community is the animal shelter control. And you know, I know that, you know, it's only about 32 versus 68% versus the city and the county, and but it's a one-man show in that deal, and he has a lot. I went down there and met with him. I looked at it personally myself. I just didn't take somebody's word. I went and looked at it myself, and that's something that, like I said, I don't know where the budget is allocated to, but that's something that needs to be looked at as well. Is the animal shelter and control. That's something I'll be wanting to look at.
Okay, I think that winds us up on the question. David, we're ready to go now for that closing statement.
We're so grateful for the candidates here for sharing their perspectives and ideas. This is so important. Those projects, whether it's wastewater treatment or potholes or streets or caring for homeless citizens here. So we commend you for your ideas and for your conversations, and look forward to hearing your closing statements.
David, I've got to say that a lot of communities around Tennessee, and you know this very well, seem to be running away from the homeless issue And here in McMinnville and Warren County, we actually embraced it. As one of the candidates said, these are human beings, and we have an obligation. So I join with all of those who support those efforts. The HOME organization, HOME, one of those hideously strained acronyms, but anyway, they do a wonderful job, and my heart goes out to all of the volunteers. They have a 24/7 job, volunteer job, working with the homeless. So let's give a shout out to those people. I think they're doing a great job. And as the candidate said, the city of McMinnville stepped up, provided the property out at Sunset Point, and I think there are now 8 of these mini homes. Is that right? 8? I think that's right. For transitional housing, and I think we need to emphasize that it is transitional housing, and those that are given that transitional housing understand that it's a step to help them reach independence. It's a step. Okay, let's go for closing statements, 2 minutes each. Seth, start their time, and we'll go back with Carrie, Curtis, Morton.
I want a thriving McMinnville again, where children and grandchildren grow up and want to stay local, own their own businesses, and be leaders one day. I've cared enough to stay in tune with what's been happening in our city government. I've been doing this for 5 years, trying to find out what's needed. I've listened to the people. I've asked lots of questions. I'll work with the department heads and find out what their needs are. But getting our infrastructure right is going to help bring more jobs into our community. I'm a hard worker, as seen in my professional and in my volunteer life. I believe it's time for a change. You have the opportunity to help our McMinnville be the best ever. To quote Seth Berkley, leadership is about vision and responsibility, not power. I would greatly appreciate your vote on November the 8th. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm Carrie Curtis Morton.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Morton. We go to Everett Brock.
Got too many cords here. As I said earlier, it's been a remarkable 4 years. I spoke about what we've accomplished over time. Now there's a few things that we need to plan for the future. We talked about a couple of those a few minutes ago. We have a 3-year capital budget plan, which includes fire trucks, firefighting equipment, additional paving and sidewalk renovation, and increased stormwater mitigation. We also need a police station, and we're in the process of buying new cars to replace some that should have been replaced a long time ago. As I stated before, we've not had a tax increase for 12 years, and we have a record fund balance of $7.2 million. As I said before, our debt service, with the exception of the Milner Center and the Park Theater, will be eliminated in 2024, and that's a savings of $471,000 a year. We want to finish our downtown renovation using grants, state paving plans, and donations from McMinnville Electric System and Ben Lomond Connect. We will have $4 million in a federal grant to work on replacing water, sewer, and stormwater lines. As for my experience, I've served on every committee at one time or another. I presently serve on the Safety and Building Grounds Committees, and I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee and have been for the last 8 years. I take great pride in our financial position. It has been a team effort. I've also been vice mayor twice and acting mayor one time. I'm married to Sally Brock, have 2 sons and 2 grandsons. I graduated from Tennessee Tech with a degree in engineering. I'm a member of the First United Methodist Church, Breakfast Rotary, Main Street McMinnville, and the Chamber of Commerce. I have knowledge, experience, and dedication to do the job. I humbly ask for your vote and support in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Okay, very good. You just heard from Everett Brock. Now, Steve Harvey. Mr. Harvey.
Once again, I'm Steve Harvey, and I would truly appreciate not only your vote, but your support. All these candidates have good ideas, but I submit to you that I not only have good ideas, but also the experience to go with it. I do not let my differences with other board members get in the way of working together to make good decisions. I have proven that I can work with those who I disagree with and will continue to do so. And also, voters, I strongly urge you to do your homework in this election. I generally vote conservatively in elections. I consider myself to be conservative in both state and national politics, as well as governing over the city of McMinnville. Having said that, I promise to give every candidate in this race an opportunity to earn my vote, but one thing that I absolutely will not do is vote for someone just because they have an R in front of their name. So again, I strongly urge you to do your homework on all of us. Talk to the candidates, ask questions, and to those of us who are on the board, look at our voting records. All you have to do is go to the city's website, and you can look at minutes from every meeting and see how I vote. And I bet if you do, I might not be the liberal elite that you might think that I was. And lastly, I would ask you to look at our town and see the direction we're heading. I believe it is the right one. Our parks and recreation systems are excellent. Our downtown is very nice. We have very strong police and fire departments. We approve police and fire equipment purchases at almost every meeting. And I believe the board is moving in the direction of a new or renovated police department in the next few years. We are paving streets. We're in the process of a major stormwater improvement project, and the blue building is once and for all going to be off the city's to-do list. Yeah. And the main thing is that all this has been done without any property tax increases since long before I was on this board. And if that's not conservative governing, then I don't know what is. I do appreciate everyone's participation here tonight and wish all the candidates well in this election. I've said it before and I will say it again that things can be worked out in a level-headed manner because we're all trying to get to the same place. We may just have different ideas about how to get there. I am Steve Harvey and would sincerely appreciate your vote and support for Alderman for the city of McMinnville.
Okay, Steve Harvey, thank you very much. Now, next to last, Deetra Dunlap.
Regardless of which candidate you choose, make a conscious choice based on merit, because after the votes are counted and winners have celebrated, on November the 9th, we are all back to being neighbors. Some of us with new responsibilities and some of us back to life as usual. So let us support those who are elected, work together for worthy causes and issues that have been brought to the table, and most importantly, let us all lead by example according to what God has commanded, that to love thy neighbor as thyself. My political stance isn't necessarily a popular one because I often find myself in the middle. I've voted both sides throughout my life, depending on the candidate and the office he or she is seeking. My concern is never, are you right or left, red or blue, elephant or donkey, but rather, are you capable, are you qualified, are you a leader, and most importantly, are you a decent human being? My hope is that you, the voters, will think for yourselves as you choose a candidate to represent your interests in this nonpartisan election, and I ask that you consider me, Deetra Dunlap, for your alderman. Thank you.
Okay, very good, Deetra Dunlap. We're winding up here. We're in the bottom of the ninth here, so we'll go to Larry York, our final speaker among the aldermanic candidates.
Thank you. Well, start off with, I'm not a politician. I'm a Christian first, I'm a family man, and then I'm a businessman. And I never dreamed ever that I would be a politician. And I had to be talked to a lot by my wife and a very good friend to do this. And I prayed a lot about doing this. And I love McMinnville. And like I said earlier, we have a quality of life here in McMinnville, and we need to protect that. And I have, like I said earlier, I have 4 kids that have raised here. They all work here. And I have a godchild that works here as well. 8 granddaughters that are very active already in this community. And I see that, you know, I can help preserve what we have here. We have a good city, we have a good community, and I want to see if I can give them what this city has already given me and my wife. We have a very good business. I don't need this position, but I think that I can help give back to this community of what this community has given to me already. And I've been here for 30 years. My wife is born and raised here. A lot of people know my wife. She's Gina Jones is her maiden name. And, but this community has been very good to me. And I just feel like that I can give back to it. And that's what I want to do. And when my kids grow up and the citizens' kids grow up here and they go to college or they get out of high school, I don't want them to think they have to leave here and go somewhere else for an opportunity. I want them to come back here or stay here and live here with us and see that they have an opportunity to stay here in our community for life with us. I'm Larry York. I'm running for the city alderman. I appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks to all of you. In the speaking order, Carrie, Curtis Morton, Everett Brock, Steve Harvey, Deetra Dunlap, and Larry York. We'll be electing three new aldermen or returning incumbents possibly. And again, that's November 8th. So that's the way we do it around here, David.
You know, it's been great to visit with you all here again, the second time this year, fourth time in the last few years, and I'm just so honored that you would have me come in from Nashville. This is a beautiful community, and I hope to come back again very soon. Please vote again, October 19th is the start of early voting, and November 8th is Election Day. Thank you. Okay, and
David, a little shout out to you. You've been all over the United States and multi-award winning journalist. How would you rate our audience here this evening in terms of the Civility Tennessee mission?
Excellent audience. So thank you for the participation, for your applause, and also your respectful consideration of all the candidates here today.